Picture a colossal, invisible blade dropping from the very top of the world straight down to the absolute bottom, slicing our spinning globe into perfect halves of light and shadow. The entire planet holds its breath as the sun races along the unseen line of the equator at over 1,000 miles per hour, casting no lateral shadows at local noon. This is the precise fleeting second when the cosmic scales finally balance, temporarily suspending the eternal war between the deep winter and the high summer. Imagine the heavy, sun-warmed limestone of an ancient pyramid suddenly coming alive as a massive shadow serpent slithers down its steps to greet the changing season. For thousands of years, our ancestors meticulously calculated this celestial arrival, building magnificent terrestrial clocks from granite and basalt just to capture the light. They understood that humanity is forever tethered to the rhythmic, turning machinery of the heavens, seeking harmony in the predictable clockwork of the stars. If we were to look closer at the freezing, unending void of deep space, we would discover that our blue marble is not the only pilgrim seeking this profound equilibrium. Billions of miles away, the distant sun strikes the majestic, icy rings of Saturn perfectly edge-on, making them temporarily vanish into the starry dark. The entire solar system is a vast, interconnected theatre of tilted worlds, each patiently waiting for its own perfect, planetary breath of symmetry. Surprisingly, your own resting body knows exactly how to mirror this profound cosmic stillness. As you sink deeper into the soft comfort of your bed, the heavy, chaotic momentum of your waking hours begins to slow, naturally matching the steady rotation of the Earth. You're safe, and these wonders are yours to inherit as you sleep. This quiet room is now your own personal observatory, a peaceful vessel carrying you through the vast starlit ocean of the galaxy. Let your mind drift outward, rising past the shimmering atmospheric illusions and into the silent velvet expanse where the great pendulum of the year is about to swing. We're about to witness the magnificent moment where the light and the dark finally meet in absolute, unyielding harmony. Deep within the mechanics of our solar system, the Earth reaches a fleeting, precarious point where its axis tilts neither toward nor away from the Sun. Deep within the mechanics of our solar system, the Earth reaches a fleeting, precarious point where its axis tilts neither toward nor away from the Sun. For 6 months, the northern hemisphere has bowed toward the stellar fire, soaking in the long golden days of summer while the south languished in the cold, shadowed grip of winter. Now the great celestial pendulum swings back toward the center of its sweeping arc. The crisp, silent movement of a shadow across a stone sundial marks this profound transition, capturing the exact second the planetary tilt neutralizes. It is a moment of profound astronomical neutrality, where the invisible line of the Earth's rotational axis stands perfectly parallel to the Sun's fiery vertical plane. The immense invisible forces of gravity and momentum have conspired to bring our world into this fleeting state of poise. We are hurtling through the dark void of space, locked in a perpetual dance of changing angles and shifting light. Yet right now, the cosmic scales are balanced. Neither the ice-capped north nor the frozen south claims the solar advantage. The world exists in a temporary, beautiful state of equilibrium before the relentless tilt resumes its inevitable plunge toward the next season. Picture the Terminator line, that sharp, creeping division between night and day, passing exactly through both the frozen north and south poles. Ordinarily, this boundary slices across the globe at an angle, leaving one pole bathed in endless daylight, while plunging the other into months of relentless starry darkness. Yet during this singular astronomical event, the line of shadow straightens into a perfect longitudinal meridian. It drops like a colossal invisible blade from the very top of the world straight down to the absolute bottom. As the Earth spins on its axis, every single longitude line on the globe rotates through this perfectly vertical curtain of twilight at the exact same angle. The geometry of shadows becomes absolute and unyielding. From the shifting ice sheets of the Arctic down through the dense, steaming jungles of the equator, The transition from dusk to dawn follows a flawless vertical path. For this brief window, the Terminator does not play favourites with the hemispheres, nor does it curve away from the extreme latitudes. It simply bisects the planet with mathematical precision, splitting our blue marble evenly down the middle. Notice how the subsolar point, the exact location where the sun shines directly overhead, races perfectly along the unseen line of the Earth's equator. This microscopic dot of absolute solar intensity usually wanders north toward the Tropic of Cancer or drifts south toward the Tropic of Capricorn, dictating the height of summer for the respective hemispheres. Today, however, it traces the very waistline of the world. As the planet rotates, this focal point of raw stellar energy sweeps across the equatorial oceans and continents at over 1,000 miles per hour. Anyone standing exactly on this invisible belt would cast no shadow at the precise moment of local noon. The sunlight falls straight down, plunging into deep wells and striking the forest floors without the slightest angular slant. This cosmic alignment turns the equator into a blazing track of concentrated light, dividing the northern and southern halves of the globe with a belt of pure noon. The entire solar system seems to align around this singular, rushing point of intense heat. It is a fleeting geographical bullseye where the sky meets the Earth in perfect perpendicular harmony. This cosmic structure dictates that exactly twice a year, this perfect planetary alignment creates a moment where the entire world experiences nearly equal amounts of daylight and darkness. It does not matter if you're standing in the bustling streets of a northern metropolis or resting on the quiet, windswept plains of a southern continent. For a brief period, the sun reigns in the sky for 12 hours, and the night claims the remaining 12. This fleeting symmetry is a rare truce in the eternal war between light and shadow that defines our earthly experience. The extreme, endless days of the high-latitude summers and the grueling, protracted nights of the polar winters are temporarily suspended. A universal rhythm takes hold, synchronizing the daily experience of every living creature on the planet under the same temporal rules. We are universally bound by this 12-hour division, sharing a planetary rhythm that transcends geography and climate. It is as if the cosmic clockmaker has momentarily paused the chaotic, shifting gears of the seasons to reset the main dial. Humanity collectively breathes in a day of perfect temporal balance before the days begin to lengthen or shrink once more. Consider the language we use to describe this phenomenon. The word equinox itself derives directly from ancient Latin terms meaning equal night. The ancients, who watched the skies with unblinking reverence and tracked the shadows with meticulous care, recognized the profound significance of this temporal equilibrium. They combined the words equus, meaning equal, and nox, meaning night, to capture the essence of this seasonal turning point. Long before modern telescopes and orbital mechanics mapped the solar system, early sky watchers understood that this specific time held a unique power over the environment. The very vocabulary we use today is a direct echo of those ancestral observers who stood in the crisp evening air, measuring the creeping dark against the fading light. Their linguistic legacy serves as a permanent spoken monument to the precise geometry of our orbit. Every time we speak the word, we're invoking a thousands of years old astronomical observation that remains as undeniably true today as it was in antiquity. It is a beautiful intersection of human culture and celestial mechanics, frozen in the syllables of a dead language. The name itself is a testament to our eternal fascination with the sky. If we were to look closer from the silent, freezing void of deep space, we would see the Earth perfectly illuminated from pole to pole. Usually a view from the cosmos reveals a planet lopsided in its lighting, wearing a crown of shadow on one end and a halo of harsh solar glare on the other. But during this exact orbital milestone, the sunbeams strike the globe dead on, wrapping the eastern edge in dawn and the western edge in dusk simultaneously. It is a magnificent planetary-scale optical event that transforms the Earth into a flawless pearl suspended against the cosmic dark. The light skims the northernmost sea ice and warms the southernmost glaciers in the exact same instant. From this celestial vantage point, the true balanced majesty of the equinox is finally unveiled in total silence. This precise geometry of our orbit dictates a fascinating reality. The equinox is a highly specific, measurable moment in time, rather than an entire day. While we circle a date on our calendars and celebrate the event from sunrise to sunset, the true astronomical phenomenon occurs in a single fleeting second. It is the exact instant the Earth's tilted axis sits perfectly perpendicular to incoming solar rays. Because our planet is hurtling continuously along its elliptical path, this geometry is inherently unstable and instantly begins to decay the moment it is achieved. The sun does not pause its apparent journey across our sky, nor does the Earth halt its relentless spin to stretch out the balance. The equilibrium is achieved, registered by the cosmos, and immediately left behind in the dust of our orbital wake. We experience the lingering effects of this balance over the course of the 24 hours, but the true astronomical crossing is incredibly brief. It is a temporal needle threading a cosmic needle, a mathematical singularity in the vast sweeping curve of the seasonal year. Before we even realize it has happened, the planet has already begun its slow, inevitable lean toward the next solstice. Imagine the night sky overlaid with an immense glowing grid, where the celestial equator stretches out as a limitless projection of our own planetary waistline. During this exact fleeting minute of the equinox, the very geometric center of the sun's burning disk perfectly intersects this imaginary line. It is the crucial junction where the path of the sun, known as the ecliptic, collides with the celestial equator in the vast dome of the heavens. For half the year, the sun has wandered below this celestial boundary, and for the other half it will climb above it, dragging the seasons in its fiery wake. But right now, the star sits dead center on the cosmic crosshairs, locked into a precise astronomical coordinate. Ancient astronomers dedicated their lives to predicting this exact celestial crossing, building great stone observatories just to catch a glimpse of the alignment. This intersection is the invisible trigger that shifts the momentum of the entire planet's weather systems and light cycles. The crossing of the solar disk is a silent, monumental event that happens hundreds of millions of miles away, yet it dictates the rhythm of life on Earth. It is the ultimate celestial checkpoint in our endless journey around the star. To truly comprehend the scale of this event, realize that the Earth travels at roughly 67,000 miles per hour just to reach this point of seasonal transition. We are passengers on a massive rocky spaceship, screaming through the vacuum of space at speeds that defy ordinary human comprehension. Every second, we cover nearly 19 miles of dark, empty void, propelled by the relentless gravitational tether of our host star. It takes millions of miles of silent, violent velocity to bring the planet into this momentary posture of perfect grace and balance. The calm, equal division of night and day is actually the byproduct of extreme, staggering kinetic energy playing out on a solar system scale. We feel none of this violent speed as we sit in our gardens or watch the crisp movement of a shadow across a sundial. The sheer momentum required to push an entire world through its orbit makes the quiet serenity of the equinox all the more miraculous. We are caught in a cosmic slingshot, riding a delicate biosphere through the freezing dark. This perfect moment of light is just a fleeting mile marker on a journey travelling at unimaginable velocities. Surprisingly, the universe continues its chaotic, constant motion even as we experience this brief, perfect balance of light. The galaxies keep colliding, the stars continue to burn out and be born, and the fabric of space-time stretches ever outward in the freezing dark. Our tiny blue marble has reached a profound moment of internal symmetry, but it is utterly ignored by the sweeping, violent forces of the greater cosmos. This fleeting equilibrium belongs only to us, a localized trick of geometry in an otherwise untamed and unbalanced universe. As the shadow finishes its crisp, silent movement across the stone sundial, the Earth has already tilted a fraction of a degree further along its path. The balance is broken just as quickly as it was forged, surrendering once more to the inevitable march of the shifting seasons. Yet, for that singular, breathtaking moment, we stood perfectly upright in the glare of our star. The equinox passes, leaving behind the promise of changing winds, falling leaves, or blooming flowers, depending on which hemisphere you call home. We resume our dizzying, tilted spin through the void, already hurtling toward the next grand intersection of shadows and light. We hurtle toward the next grand intersection of shadows and light, anticipating the sudden flash of golden morning radiance striking perfectly from due east. Everywhere on our turning globe, regardless of latitude, the morning star breaches the horizon precisely at the cardinal point of true east on this day. Whether you stand amidst sweeping Arctic tundra or tropical rainforests, the compass needle and the rising sun align in a fleeting moment of global consensus. It is a rare geographical harmony where the entire planet shares the exact same orientation toward the dawn. If we were to look closer at ancient navigation, this specific dawn served as the ultimate calibrator for early mariners and map makers. They knew that on this morning, they could trust the sun to reveal the true eastern vector without the need for complex mathematical corrections or magnetic instruments. The sky itself becomes a flawless, universal compass, pointing straight into the heart of the new day. This cosmic structure ensures that the geometry of the dawn is democratized across the hemispheres, stripping away the usual seasonal biases. The light cuts straight through the morning mist, drawing a perfect line from the fiery horizon directly to the observer's eye. Every living being, no matter their coordinates, wakes up facing the exact same direction of incoming warmth. Notice how the evening descent mirrors this morning precision, as the fading star sets exactly due west to complete a perfect, symmetrical arch across the sky. The day concludes with the same mathematical elegance with which it began, anchoring the twilight exactly opposite the dawn. This creates a flawless celestial dome of light, perfectly halved by the sun's trajectory overhead. As the afternoon shadows stretch out and dissolve, the sinking star points like a glowing arrow toward true west, marking the end of the day's journey. Observers watching the sunset over a flat ocean would see the fiery orb touch the water exactly at the 270-degree mark on a compass rose. The fading light paints the clouds in a vibrant farewell, locked perfectly on the cardinal axis. As you settle deeper into your quiet space, let your breathing slow and steady, mirroring the calm, predictable rhythm of this celestial arc. Your body rests, grounded and secure, while the vast mechanics of the sky perform their silent, ancient choreography above. The perfect sunset becomes a visual anchor, pulling the day to a close with absolute geometric certainty. Deep within the equatorial zones, a strange and mesmerizing visual phenomenon occurs when the midday sun beams directly down from the zenith. Because the star is positioned at an absolute vertical perpendicular to the ground, standing objects cast absolutely no lateral shadows. Trees, pillars, and people seem to magically lose their dark twins, standing isolated on the sun-baked Earth. Picture a busy city street near the planet's waistline at exact local noon, where the bustling crowds and towering buildings suddenly look like poorly rendered models lacking depth. The light plunges straight down into the narrowest alleyways and the deepest wells, illuminating spaces that remain hidden in darkness for the rest of the year. It is a bizarre, shadowless midday that strips the landscape of its usual contours and contrasts. This trick of the light offers a visceral physical proof of the planet's alignment with its host star, a moment of profound exposure. The world is bathed in an intense, inescapable glare that pours from the very centre of the sky. It is as if the heavens have opened an unblinking eye, staring straight down at the heart of the world. Surprisingly, the universe traces its passage through our sky in the shape of an elongated figure eight, a celestial pattern known to astronomers as the solar analemma. If you were to photograph the sun at the exact same time every day for an entire calendar cycle, this graceful looping curve would slowly emerge against the blue expanse. On this day of balance, the glowing orb crosses the exact midpoint of this immense, invisible figure in the heavens. It sits precisely at the junction where the upper and lower loops of the Analemma meet, marking the exact centre of its annual journey. This crossing represents the tipping point of the year, the hinge upon which the great pendulum of the seasons smoothly swings. The sun has finished its climb or descent through one half of the loop and now embarks on the reverse trajectory. This cosmic structure reveals that the rhythm of our orbit is not a simple back and forth line, but a complex pulsing dance shaped by our elliptical path. The midpoint crossing is a visual manifestation of orbital mechanics written in fire across the daylight sky. It is a hidden, majestic architecture that governs the shifting seasons and the steady march of time. For those living in the temperate middle latitudes, the daily path of the sun cuts through the sky at an exact average between its summer and winter extremes. It neither climbs to the scorching, oppressive heights of the midsummer solstice, nor scrapes weakly along the frigid, depressing horizon of deep winter. Instead, it threads the needle perfectly, taking the middle road across the blue vault. Imagine the sun tracking a moderate, gentle arc that provides a balanced, comfortable distribution of light and warmth. The shadows it casts are neither long and distorted nor short and severe, but pleasantly proportioned to the landscape. This temperate trajectory creates the ideal conditions for the mild, transitional weather we associate with the turning of the seasons. Allow your muscles to soften and your shoulders to drop, feeling the comfortable, balanced weight of your body settling into the present moment. Just as the sun finds its perfect, comfortable middle path, your physical form can find its own state of restful equilibrium. The sky mirrors the quiet, centered calm that resides within you. If we were to look closer at the edges of the day, we would discover that the duration of twilight is actually shortest during this time of year compared to the solstices. The transition from full daylight to complete, starry darkness happens with surprising speed, compressing the evening hues into a brief, intense display. The lingering painted skies of a midsummer evening are replaced by a rapid, decisive curtain drop. This swift fading of the light creates a crisp, sudden onset of night, catching many people off guard as the evening commute abruptly plunges into darkness. The atmosphere does not hold on to the scattered sunlight for long, allowing the deep blue of the evening to quickly overtake the warm gold of the sunset. It is a no-nonsense transition, efficient and mathematically precise. Notice how the rapid onset of twilight accelerates the evening chorus of crickets and nocturnal creatures, prompting them to begin their nightly symphony sooner. The world swiftly trades the bustling energy of the day for the quiet, hidden life of the dark. The rapid twilight is a stark reminder of the planet's relentless turning momentum. This rapid loss of light happens because the sun dips below the horizon at the steepest possible angle of the entire year. During the solstices, the star glides down at a shallow, lazy slant, dragging the sunset out over a protracted period of time. Now it plunges downward almost vertically, slicing through the atmospheric layers like a heavy stone dropping into a dark ocean. Picture the geometry of this descent, a sharp, clean cut through the horizon line that minimizes the time spent in the hazy boundary of the atmosphere. Because the trajectory is so direct, the twilight phases blow past in rapid succession. The sky darkens efficiently, stripping away the glow and revealing the brilliant tapestry of the Milky Way in record time. This plunging trajectory ensures that the night asserts its dominance swiftly, bringing a profound, cooling stillness to the air. The rapid transition from day to night emphasizes the stark duality of our rotating world. It is a dramatic daily curtain call, executed with sudden, breathtaking speed. Deep within the minds of early explorers, This particular day offered a vital, life-saving opportunity to calibrate their navigation across vast, uncharted territories. Measuring the shadows cast at exact local noon provided a perfect, simple calculation of their absolute latitude on the globe. By driving a straight stick into the ground and measuring the length of its dark projection, a navigator could determine exactly how far north or south they were. This cosmic structure turned every tree, every mast, and every standing stone into a temporary, flawlessly accurate navigational instrument. It required no complex tables or intricate brass tools, only a clear sky and a basic understanding of geometry. The sun itself was communicating their exact position on the face of the Earth, written in temporary ink on the ground. Astrophotographers wait patiently for this precise solar positioning to capture the exact halfway point of the celestial year. They align their lenses and calibrate their trackers to document this mathematical milestone, freezing the balance of light in stunning high-definition imagery. For these dedicated sky watchers, the day is an astronomical trophy, a visual record of the planet's perfect fleeting posture. Imagine the meticulous planning required to catch the sun exactly as it bisects the celestial equator, often framing it against ancient monuments or striking natural landscapes. These images serve as modern testaments to the same orbital mechanics that obsessed our ancestors thousands of years ago. The cameras freeze the cosmic pendulum at the very bottom of its monumental swing. Through their lenses, we can see the invisible machinery of the solar system, rendered in vibrant, striking colour and shadow. The resulting photographs are more than just beautiful landscapes capturing a single moment in time. They are scientific documents of our homeworld's perpetual spinning journey, capturing a truth that is usually too massive and slow for the human eye to perceive. Consequently, the apparent motion of the sun seems to be at its absolute fastest as it shifts north or south day by day along the horizon. If you mark the position of the sunrise every morning, the gaps between your daily marks will be widest during these weeks of transition. The star appears to be sprinting along the edge of the world, racing toward its next destination. This rapid apparent movement is an optical illusion born from the geometry of our tilted orbit intersecting the horizon line at a steep angle. It creates a sense of seasonal urgency as the daylight rapidly lengthens or shortens with noticeable speed each passing day. The slow, lingering dawns of the deep summer or winter are replaced by a rushing, dynamic sky. Surprisingly, the universe offers this visual rush as a final flourish of the season, a reminder that the balance is inherently unstable. The star refuses to sit still, immediately embarking on its long journey toward the extreme edges of the sky. We are left watching the sunrise shift ever further down the tree line, chasing the inevitable promise of the coming season. Chasing the inevitable promise of the coming season, we often gaze toward the horizon, eagerly awaiting the star's return. Yet, the shimmering warm haze of refracted light bending at the very edge of the Earth plays a magnificent trick on our anticipating eyes. The morning light we see bleeding into the dawn is actually a ghost, an optical projection of a sun that remains physically hidden below the curve of the planet. Deep within the invisible layers of Earth's atmosphere, gases and moisture act as a colossal prism, bending the incoming solar rays over the planetary crest. This massive atmospheric curve folds the light around the physical rock and water, throwing the image of the sun upward into our line of sight. We are literally looking over the edge of the world, seeing light that has been pulled around the curvature of the Earth. Picture a coin placed in an empty cup, hidden just below the rim, suddenly becoming visible when water is poured in. Our sky performs the exact same physics on a planetary scale, bending the incoming beams so fiercely that the star announces its arrival prematurely. The sunrise we greet with such reverence is a beautiful projected illusion, arriving minutes before the physical solar sphere actually crests the horizon. Because of this relentless bending light, the perfect symmetry we associate with this day is actually a mathematical compromise. The sun appears earlier than geometry dictates and lingers in the evening sky long after it has physically set. This optical stretching of the daylight pushes the total hours of illumination just past the 12-hour mark, tipping the scale slightly in favour of the sun. This structure ensures that on the very day celebrated for exact equality, the day is actually a few minutes longer than the night. The atmospheric halo wraps around the globe, artificially inflating the duration of daytime for every single observer. True balance is thwarted by the very air we breathe, which refuses to let the light go quietly into the dark. If we were to look closer at a sundial, its shadow would betray this slight elongation of the afternoon. The atmosphere acts as a luminous thief, stealing precious minutes from the night and gifting them to the afternoon. Even in our most perfectly balanced moments, the planetary environment finds a way to warp the rigid rules of orbital mechanics. Notice how this discrepancy leads to a lesser known, yet physically accurate milestone hidden just a few days away from the main event. To experience a day where light and dark are truly precisely equal down to the second, we must look to the equinox. This true geometric equilibrium occurs slightly before the spring transition, or slightly after the autumn one, depending on the hemisphere. The exact date of the equinox shifts depending on a location-specific latitude, making it a uniquely localized phenomenon rather than a synchronized global event. While the whole world celebrates the astronomical crossing together, the true experience of equal hours ripples across the latitudes on different days. It is a quiet, personal balance that each region experiences in its own time. As you lie still, feel the gentle rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, mirroring the subtle, localized shifts of these hidden cosmic milestones. Let your mind rest in the knowledge that true balance is a fluid, moving target, gracefully adapting to the space you currently occupy. The tension releases from your jaw as you surrender to this soft, localized rhythm. Imagine the entire envelope of breathable air surrounding our world functioning as a mind-bogglingly large spherical lens. As the setting sun approaches the western horizon, this vast atmospheric magnifying glass goes to work on the fading light. It grasps the sinking image of the star and hauls it upward, distorting its precise position in the fading blue dome. This colossal optical device is thickest near the surface, meaning the lower half of the sun is pulled upward more intensely than the upper half. The light travelling through the dense lower air is bent with greater force than the rays passing through the thinner altitudes above. We are watching the star through an immense uneven pane of glass that warps the reality of the solar system. Surprisingly, the universe relies on our local weather to dictate exactly how this massive lens operates from day to day. A clear, calm evening might offer a crisp, sharp projection, while a turbulent atmosphere can make the star dance and ripple like a reflection on a disturbed pond. The sky is an active participant in how we witness the closing of the day. The density of this global lens is constantly fluctuating, entirely at the mercy of barometric pressure and ambient temperature. A sudden cold front creeping across the landscape condenses the air, creating a thicker medium that bends the light even more aggressively. Conversely, a sweltering low-pressure system thins the optical medium, relaxing the refractive grip on the setting star. These invisible meteorological shifts mean that the exact timing of the optical sunrise or sunset can vary by several minutes from what the astronomical tables predict. Navigators relying solely on visual observations must constantly calculate these atmospheric variables to find their true position. The weather itself acts as a variable filter, capable of accelerating or delaying the visual arrival of the night. Deep within the layers of the troposphere, colliding air masses constantly rewrite the refractive index of the sky. We are never viewing the cosmos through a pristine static window, but rather through a turbulent, breathing ocean of gas. Every sunset is a completely unique optical event, shaped entirely by the localized temperature of the air through which the light travels. Notice how the golden hour light during this transitional week feels entirely distinct from the harsh glare of midsummer or the weak glow of winter. Because the star is positioned directly over the equator, The sunlight filters through a perfectly even, symmetrical distribution of the atmosphere. The beams penetrate the air at an angle that avoids the extreme atmospheric thickness of the solstices. This creates a unique amber wash that coats the landscape in a rich, saturated warmth, devoid of harsh contrasts or bleached highlights. The shadows stretch out with soft, diffuse edges, wrapping around trees and buildings with a gentle, glowing embrace. Photographers covet this specific quality of illumination, knowing it only graces the world twice a year. Allow the imagined warmth of this perfect amber light to wash over your resting form, relaxing the tiny muscles around your eyes. Feel your body sink heavier into the cushions, supported and enveloped by the calm, even glow of the transitional season. The gentle illumination outside is perfectly matched by the growing stillness within your own mind. If we were to look closer at the twilight sky, we would see the high-altitude cirrus clouds catching the setting sunlight much longer than they do during the deep winter. Because the sun drops down at such a sheer vertical angle, its ascending rays continue to strike the upper atmosphere long after the surface has gone dark. These icy wisps miles above the ground act as floating projection screens for the hidden star. Picture the ground bathed in deep, cooling shadows, while the stratosphere above still burns with a brilliant luminous pink. The sheer angle of the planetary tilt creates a vast separation between the localized night on the ground and the lingering day in the clouds. This vertical separation stretches the visual beauty of the sunset into the highest reaches of the sky. This structure creates a stunning layered twilight where the darkness rises from the earth rather than falling from the heavens. We watch the shadow of our own planet slowly climb up the cloud banks, extinguishing the vibrant colours from the bottom up. It is a slow, majestic fading of the light, orchestrated by the precise geometry of our orbit. This atmospheric trickery robs the star of its true magnificent roundness, squeezing the plasma into an unnatural shape just before it disappears. The thicker the haze and humidity resting on the horizon, the more dramatic this optical compression becomes. We watch a warped, distorted echo of the sun sinking into the terrestrial boundary. This squashed silhouette is a testament to the immense weight and density of the air pushing down on the surface of the world. It is a daily reminder that we view the vastness of space from the bottom of a deep, heavy ocean of gas. The atmosphere does not simply let the light pass, it wrestles with it, bending it to its will. As this squashed oval sinks deeper into the atmospheric layers, the phenomenon known as Rayleigh scattering reaches its absolute peak. The dense accumulation of air molecules acts as a massive filter, stripping away the shorter, energetic blue wavelengths and scattering them into the void. What survives this gauntlet of gas are the long, lazy wavelengths of deep, vivid reds and vibrant oranges. Deep within the sunset, these surviving colours paint the sky with an intensity that seems almost artificial, setting the horizon ablaze with crimson fire. The precise angle of entry often provides the perfect atmospheric cross-section to maximise this fiery display. The sky bleeds out its daylight in a spectacular shifting canvas of warm hues. Allow your breathing to deepen slightly, drawing in the imagined scent of the cooling earth as the vibrant red sky begins to dim. Let the heavy, peaceful weight of the twilight settle into your limbs, releasing any final traces of the day's tension. You're perfectly safe, anchored in the quiet, watching the fiery colours slowly fade to black. Ultimately, this relentless atmospheric trickery means we never truly see the sun exactly where it geometrically exists during the sunrise or sunset. Our eyes are constantly deceived by the refractive power of our own breathable air, chasing optical illusions painted on the horizon. The star is always lower, always further along its path than our limited vision leads us to believe. We live our entire lives tracking a ghost of the light, trusting a sky that bends the truth to make the days feel a little longer. It is a beautiful, necessary deception that defines our relationship with the turning of the world. The geometry of the shadows might be perfect, but the light itself is always slightly bent. Imagine standing on the twilight edge, knowing that the warmth on your face is a projection from a star that has already hidden itself away. We are captivated by the shimmering warm haze, forever admiring a delayed echo of the cosmic machinery. The sky holds its secrets, leaving us to marvel at the beautiful illusions it chooses to share. Deep within the hidden machinery of the cosmos, the shimmering illusions of our atmosphere give way to the invisible but unyielding grip of universal gravity. During this precise, fleeting window of the equinox, the gravitational forces of both the Sun and the Moon achieve a rare and potent alignment with the Earth's equator. Ordinarily, these two celestial giants pull at our planet from varying angles and differing heights, their influence scattered across the hemispheres. However, twice a year, their gravitational vectors converge upon the world's midsection, focusing their combined mass on a singular, horizontal plane. This creates a unified, concentrated tug that ripples through the global hydrosphere with an intensity found at no other time. It is as if the universe has temporarily synchronized its most powerful engines to pull directly on the waistline of the spinning Earth. This structure of celestial alignment generates what oceanographers describe as equinoctial tides, which manifest as significantly higher and lower water levels than the typical yearly average. As the planet rotates beneath this concentrated gravitational beam, the world's seas respond with a dramatic, heaving motion that exceeds the standard range of the monthly lunar cycle. The high tides climb further inland, claiming territory usually reserved for the dry Earth, while the low tides retreat deep into the abyss, exposing the hidden secrets of the seabed. It is a time of tidal extremes, where the boundary between the terrestrial and the aquatic becomes a moving, fluid frontier of remarkable proportions. The very pulse of the global ocean quickens and deepens, driven by the geometric perfection of the solar system's seasonal layout. Deep within the vast, dark basins of the world's oceans, the water physically bulges outward toward the equator in response to this combined celestial pull. While the solid, rocky crust of the Earth remains relatively rigid, the liquid mantle of the seas is free to flow and gather where the invisible hand of gravity is strongest. This creates a literal, though subtle, mountain of water that circles the planet's waistline, representing a massive redistribution of the Earth's liquid mass. This equatorial swell is the silent, unseen engine that powers the coastal drama we witness from the safety of the shore. It serves as a profound testament to the fluid nature of our world, showing how even the deepest oceanic abyss is sensitive to the positions of the distant stars and the orbiting moon. Notice how your own body feels as it rests in this moment, heavy and grounded, much like the solid continents that resist the magnetic pull of the distant stars. Your breath moves in and out with a quiet, personal rhythm, unaffected by the massive tug-of-war currently playing out across the global oceans. Let your muscles soften further into the supportive surface beneath you, safe in the knowledge that you're anchored while the distant water dances to a cosmic tune. Picture the coastal waters rising up with a heavy rhythmic grace to cover jagged rocks and ancient barnacled tide pools that usually remain dry throughout the rest of the year. During these equinoctial surges, the sea becomes uncharacteristically ambitious, lapping at the roots of coastal trees and flooding stone pathways that are normally held safely above the spray. The sound of the surf changes in these moments, transforming into a deeper, more resonant boom as the increased volume of water impacts the shoreline with newfound weight and momentum. These hidden maritime landscapes, usually kissed only by the salt air and the sun, are suddenly plunged back into the dark, cold embrace of the surging brine. It is a temporary but majestic reclamation of the land by the sea, dictated by the invisible geometry of our planetary orbit. Surprisingly, the universe has long communicated these rhythmic patterns to human observers, and coastal communities have historically used the arrival of the equinox to predict the most extreme tidal shifts. From the ancient seafaring cultures of the Pacific to the harbour towns of the North Sea, the timing of the equal night was a vital signal to prepare for the ocean's restless mood. They knew that when the sun crossed the celestial equator, the water would soon follow, surging into harbours with enough force to challenge the sturdiest of maritime moorings. This ancestral wisdom turned the abstract motion of the heavens into a practical, life-saving guide for survival on the edge of the deep. It serves as a reminder that our human history has always been a deep conversation between the ground we walk on and the shifting lights in the sky. If we were to look closer at the fine print of modern tidal charts, we would see that the highest spring tides of the year often cluster predictably around the week surrounding the equinox. Even when the moon is not perfectly full or new, the sun's equatorial position provides a persistent gravitational baseline that amplifies every subsequent lunar tug. This clustering creates a season of maritime intensity, where the water's edge is constantly in flux, shifting and reshaping the sandy contours of the world's beaches. These charts are the written sheet music of the ocean symphony, and the equinox marks the moment where the volume is turned to its highest and most resonant setting. It is a recurring mathematical peak in the Earth's ongoing dialogue with the powerful gravity of the solar system. Allow your thoughts to drift like the white foam on the crest of a distant wave, light and effortless as they move across the quiet surface of your consciousness. Your physical form remains still and protected, a peaceful island of calm amidst the vast and powerful movements of the natural world. Feel the weight of your limbs as they settle even deeper into relaxation, matching the steady, slow retreat of a receding tide. The exact distance of the moon during this seasonal transition can amplify these tides even further, occasionally creating what is known as a rare supermoon equinoctial tide. When the moon reaches its closest point to Earth, known as its perigee, at the same time the sun is aligned with the equator, the gravitational pull becomes a formidable, historic force of nature. These rare occurrences result in tides that often defy the memory of the local inhabitants, flooding low-lying streets and pushing the salt spray into the far reaches of coastal marshes. It is a moment of perfect astronomical synergy, where the proximity of the moon and the alignment of the sun combine to exert their absolute maximum influence over the planet's water. The tides become a roaring physical manifestation of the sheer power inherent in the silent clockwork of the heavens. Rivers that experience the mesmerizing phenomenon of tidal bores see some of their strongest and most dramatic reversing waves during this seasonal shift. In narrow estuaries like the Amazon or the Severn, the incoming equinoctial tide is compressed into a single powerful wall of water that charges upstream against the natural current. This wave can travel for many miles inland, carrying the salt and energy of the distant ocean deep into the heart of the forest or the quiet countryside. The sound is a low, persistent rumble, a warning from the sea that it is temporarily claiming the territory of the fresh water. It is a spectacular and rare reversal of the natural order, where the ocean proves that its reach extends far beyond the crashing waves of the coastline. Deep within the fragile coastal ecosystems, marine life relies on these intense tidal movements to flush out stagnant estuaries and bring in a fresh surge of deep water nutrients. The powerful equinoctial tides act as a giant planetary lung, exhaling the spent waters of the marshes and inhaling the cold, oxygen-rich brine of the open sea. This massive influx of minerals and microscopic life sparks a flurry of biological activity in the food chain, feeding everything from the smallest crustaceans to the largest coastal predators. The entire biological rhythm of the shoreline is synchronized with this gravitational pulse, using the energy of the stars to refresh the foundations of life. It is a grand, periodic irrigation of the planet's nurseries, orchestrated entirely by the tilt of the Earth's axis. Notice how the rhythmic breathing of the ocean is deeply tethered to the tilting of our planet as it moves through the silent, velvet dark of space. Every crashing wave on a rocky shore is a physical echo of the Earth's precise orientation toward its host star and its orbiting companion. The sea is perhaps the most sensitive instrument we possess for measuring the invisible forces that govern our solar system, responding with every drop of its massive volume. As the equinox eventually passes and the tilt resumes its slow change, the tides will gradually settle back into their more modest and familiar routines. Yet, for this brief window of balance, the ocean stands as a witness to the perfect machinery that guides our journey through the stars. Our journey through the stars has never been a solitary one, for the silent stones of our ancestors remain as witnesses to the perfect machinery of the sky. Deep within the foundations of almost every major human civilization, builders meticulously calculated the arrival of the equinox to align their most sacred monuments with the rising and setting of the sun. These structures were not merely places of worship or burial, they were grand terrestrial clocks forged from granite, limestone and basalt. They represent the collective heartbeat of humanity and a desire to pin our fragile lives to something as enduring as the orbit of the planet. They captured the fleeting moment when the solar system reached its point of poise, grounding the human experience in the predictable rhythms of the heavens. By pinning the sun to a specific window or a carved pillar, ancient architects ensured that their societies remained in perpetual harmony with the cosmic order. This ancient practice transformed the raw landscape into a sophisticated instrument of observation that has outlasted the very cultures that created it. The precision involved is staggering, requiring generations of observation and a mastery of mathematics that we are only beginning to fully appreciate today. Every megalith and temple became a physical anchor for the shifting seasons and the turning of the planetary tide. They represent a time when the sky was the primary map for all of human endeavour, from the planting of crops to the navigation of the vast open oceans. If we were to look closer at these foundations, we would find a deep mathematical reverence for the balance of the world. Each stone was placed with the intention of greeting the light, a silent promise kept through thousands of years of sunrises. At the towering pyramid of El Castillo in Chichen Itza, the afternoon sun performs a cinematic shadow play that seems to transcend the boundaries of mere engineering. As the equinox sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, the light interacts with the jagged edges of the pyramid's 9 platforms. This creates a series of triangles along the northern staircase that perfectly mimic the undulating body of a massive serpent slithering down the stone. This optical illusion is a feat of advanced geometry, requiring the pyramid to be oriented with a precision that accounts for both the sun's height and its horizontal position. This display of light and shadow, representing the deity Kukulkan, appears only during this brief window of celestial balance. It unites the sky and the soil in a rhythmic display of devotion that has fascinated observers for centuries, drawing thousands to witness the descent of the snake. The stone comes alive as the light shifts, proving that the ancient Maya mastered the complex mathematics of the solar year with an accuracy that matches our modern calendars. The shadow serpent seems to breathe as the light fluctuates, moving with a slow, deliberate grace that commands the attention of all who stand in its path. It is a masterful manipulation of the environment, where the very movement of the sun is used to animate the heavy, sun-warmed limestone. The serpent's descent serves as a visual countdown to the changing of the seasons, signalling the start of the rainy period and the time for sowing corn. It reminds us that the ancient world saw the light as a storyteller, capable of breathing life into the static earth through the clever use of shadow. As the sun sets, the serpent disappears into the earth, leaving the pyramid to stand in the quiet dusk once more. Picture the rising sun shining with an almost surgical precision through the central axis of the Mnajdra temples, which sit perched on the rugged, windswept coast of Malta. These prehistoric megalithic structures are among the oldest freestanding buildings on Earth, predating the Great Pyramids by over 1,000 years. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, the first beam of dawn light travels through the narrow entrance and strikes the primary altar stones deep within the temple's cool, dark interior. The light moves like a liquid, flooding the space with a sudden golden warmth that seems to awaken the ancient limestone from its deep, centuries-old slumber. This alignment was achieved by a people who possessed a sophisticated understanding of the solar cycle, despite living at the very dawn of human history. The limestone walls, worn by millennia of salt air, still respond to the sun's signal with a reliability that modern technology can only admire. It is a moment of profound terrestrial and celestial union, where the cold stone is warmed by a message from 93 million miles away. The precision of the doorframe and the altar stone acts as a cosmic funnel, narrowing the vastness of the universe into a single focused point of light. It shows that even in the Neolithic age, we were already looking for ways to capture the essence of the stars. Surprisingly, the universe remains perfectly consistent, allowing these ancient alignments to function exactly as they did 5,000 years ago. The temples are not just ruins, but active participants in the solar system's ongoing journey through the dark void of space. They stand as a testament to the enduring human desire to find our place within the stars, anchoring our identity to the reliable movement of the sun. Imagine standing at Stonehenge as the morning light aligns perfectly with the massive, ancient sarsen stones to mark the invisible turning of the agricultural wheel. This legendary monument on the Salisbury Plain was more than a temple. It was a sophisticated cosmic calendar that dictated the survival of entire communities. As the equinox sun rises, its light bisects the great trilithons, casting a long straight shadow that serves as a terrestrial needle on a planetary dial. The stones act as a monumental frame, isolating the sun and turning it into a captive participant in the human landscape. Notice how your own resting body mirrors this ancient stillness, held in a state of quiet, grounded repose while the world performs its eternal slow rotation. The heavy weight of the stones provides a sense of absolute permanence in a world defined by the constant shifting dance of the stars. Feel the tension leave your muscles as you imagine the cool morning air of the plain and the soft rustle of grass against the base of the monoliths. You are anchored here, just as these stones have been for millennia, watching the same sun perform its magnificent, predictable dance. The precise placement of each massive block ensures that the equinox sunrise is captured in a frame of stone. This was the trigger for the planting of seeds and the preparation of the soil, a moment of high-stakes biological importance for the people of the plain. It is a physical manifestation of a society that lived in total synchronization with the heartbeat of the earth, using the sky as their ultimate guide. This structure of survival remains one of the most enduring symbols of our relationship with the heavens. The Great Sphinx of Giza was sculpted to gaze with an unblinking, eternal stare directly toward the rising sun on the morning of the vernal equinox. As the golden star breaches the desert horizon, its light strikes the face of the monumental lion, illuminating the guardian of the plateau at the exact moment of seasonal birth. This alignment was a deliberate attempt by the pharaohs to tether their earthly authority to the immutable divine laws of the solar cycle. The Sphinx is not merely a statue, it is a solar monument that participates in the sky's geometry, turning the entire Giza plateau into a massive functioning observatory. For thousands of years, the Sphinx has watched the sky change, yet it remains perfectly locked onto this cardinal point of dawn. It serves as a silent sentinel of the sands, forever marking the geometric intersection where the day and the night find their momentary truce. The limestone body of the beast absorbs the first warmth of the spring, acting as a solar conductor that bridges the gap between the heat of the sun and the coolness of the rock. As the light hits the brow of the Sphinx, it symbolizes the awakening of the land and the return of the life-giving floods. If we were to look closer at the gaze of the Sphinx, we would see a focus that transcends the passage of empires and the shifting of the sands. It is anchored to the one thing that never fails to return, the light of the equinox, which marks the perfect middle path of the year. It stands as a monumental bridge between the transience of human life and the eternity of the solar journey. This enduring gaze is a reminder that we are all, in some way, looking for the light that remains constant. This structure at Angkor Wat features a breathtaking solar alignment, where the sun rises exactly over the peak of its central lotus tower during the spring transition. As the dawn breaks over the dense Cambodian jungle, the golden orb appears to sit like a radiant crown upon the pinnacle of the world's largest religious monument. The Khmer builders synchronized their vast temple complex with the movements of the sun to reflect the balance of the universe. The entire city of Angkor was designed as a terrestrial reflection of the stars, a microcosm of the heavens brought down into the humid, fertile earth. The surrounding moats act as a mirror, doubling the brilliance of the solar crown and creating a landscape of light that exists for only a few precious minutes. It is a monumental achievement of sacred geography, where the architecture itself becomes a living extension of the solar system. The central tower acts as a gnomon, marking the centre of the world in the eyes of its creators and channeling the energy of the sun into the heart of the kingdom. This alignment transforms the stone mountain of the temple into a glowing beacon of cosmic order, visible for miles across the sprawling plains. It provides a visual proof that the king's reign was supported by the very motion of the heavens. Angkor Wat remains a silent witness to a civilization that understood the deep geometric secrets of the sky and the cycles of time. Even today, thousands gather in the humid dawn to witness this perfect intersection of human art and celestial fire. The heat of the morning begins to rise, the jungle awakens, and the temple stands at the center of a celestial master plan. Indigenous tribes across the vast plains of North America constructed intricate medicine wheels to track the sun's equinox positions with carefully placed stones and cairns. These circular alignments served as communal maps for both spiritual and physical navigation, marking the vital windows for migration and the gathering of seasonal foods. By observing which spoke of the stone wheel aligned with the rising or setting sun, the elders could accurately predict the coming environmental shifts. The wheels were not just static markers, they were active places of ceremony where the community gathered to realign themselves with the rhythms of the earth. Surprisingly, the universe provided a reliable overhead guide that helped these mobile societies maintain a stable and deeply spiritual relationship with the earth. The medicine wheel was a bridge between the wandering tribes and the fixed, predictable path of the star that sustained them. Each stone was a commitment to remember the cycles that govern all life, from the smallest insect to the largest herds of buffalo. The geometry of the wheel reflected the geometry of the sky, creating a sacred space where the human and the cosmic could meet. Your breath flows in and out with a steady circular rhythm, mirroring the shape of these ancient wheels on the high windy plains. You are part of the same cycle, a living witness to the balance that the stones have tracked for centuries under the vast blue dome. Let the quiet of the landscape settle into your mind, bringing a sense of vast, open peace as you imagine the sun touching the edge of the circle. The tension in your body melts away, replaced by the calm, steady heartbeat of the prairie. Deep within the rolling green hills of Ireland, ancient passage tombs like those at Loughcrew feature narrow, stone corridors specifically designed to catch the equinox light. For a brief period at dawn, the sun's rays penetrate the deep womb of the earth, reaching back through the dark, cold passageway. They strike intricate spiral carvings on the rear chamber walls, bringing light to the dark for the first time in many months of winter. These petroglyphs flare into a brilliant gold as the solar energy touches the ancient ink of the carved rock, revealing a hidden language of circles and stars. If we were to look closer, we would see the handiwork of a Neolithic people who viewed the equinox as a mystical threshold. It was the point where the physical world and the realm of the ancestors met in a flash of morning brilliance. The light does not just illuminate the stone, it seems to breathe life into the very earth itself, signalling the return of warmth to the frozen valleys. It is a silent dialogue between the builders and the sun, carried out over 5,000 years of Irish mornings without ever missing a beat. The chamber waits in the dark, knowing exactly when the light will return to find it. As the sun moves on, the chamber returns to its quiet, protective darkness, holding its secrets until the next seasonal crossing. This cycle of light and shadow is the heartbeat of the land, a promise kept by the sun and the stones. It reminds us that even in the darkest months, the light is always preparing for its eventual return to the center. The ancient Romans recognized the profound shift of the equinox by basing the start of their original calendar year on the arrival of the spring transition. In the earliest versions of their timekeeping, the month of March marked the true beginning of the civic year. They understood that the return of equal light was the only logical point to reset the clock of civilization as the earth itself began to breathe and wake. The new year was not just a date, it was a physical sensation of the world returning to balance after the darkness. This structure of the calendar grounded the Roman state in the natural rhythms of the sky, ensuring their festivals were in sync with the celestial clock. It was a recognition that human laws and social orders are most effective when they reflect the undeniable patterns of the heavens. The transition was seen as a moment of purification and renewed energy for the entire empire, a time to clear away the old and prepare for the new. By aligning their lives with the equinox, the Romans ensured that their collective efforts were supported by the momentum of the planet itself. As you rest, imagine the old world resetting its clocks by the movement of the sun across the temple steps. The day and night are equal, providing a moment of perfect neutral ground for a fresh start in your own journey of rest. Feel the sense of renewal washing over you, as if you are beginning your own new cycle of clarity and quiet. You're in sync with the world, a part of the grand reset that has governed human life for millennia. These architectural marvels, scattered across every continent and spanning thousands of years, prove that humanity has always sought to ground itself in the relentless clockwork of the cosmos. Whether through massive megaliths on a windy plain or subtle alignments in a humid jungle, our ancestors found a deep sense of security in the predictable movements of the light. We are part of a long, unbroken chain of observers who have looked up at the stars and found a way to weave that order into our lives. The stones remain, even as the empires that built them fade into the dust of history. As you settle further into your quiet space, feel the profound connection between your own steady, rhythmic heart and the ancient stones that still wait patiently for the sun. The equinox is a reminder that we are never truly lost, as long as we can read the silent whispers of the light upon the stone. The universe continues its grand, silent choreography, and we are its most attentive and appreciative audience, finding meaning in the balance. This structure of our shared history is etched into the very crust of the planet, a testament to our enduring fascination with the geometry of the sky. The balance is not just in the stars, it is within us, waiting to be rediscovered with every turning of the year. The stones will be there tomorrow, and the sun will find them again, just as it has for ages without fail. Sleep now, knowing that the world is in perfect ancient balance, and the light is always on its way back to you across the dark. The journey continues, the wheel turns, and you are held safely in the centre of the celestial clockwork. Within the silent gears of this celestial clockwork, a molecular rhythm beats inside every living cell on Earth, perfectly synchronized to the equalizing lengths of day and night. Biological clocks, far older than any stone monument, serve as internal observatories that monitor the exact duration of solar exposure with microscopic precision. As the planet reaches its point of orbital poise, these internal mechanisms recalibrate, signaling a profound shift in metabolism and behavior across the entire biosphere. This hidden synchronization ensures that every organism, from the simplest single-celled algae to the most complex mammals, moves in harmony with the turning of the seasons. The equal distribution of light acts as a universal reset button, a moment of chemical clarity where the body knows precisely where it stands in the cycle of the year. It is a biological consensus that transcends species, binding all of life to the rhythmic heartbeat of the sun. Every cell becomes a silent participant in the great solar measurement, a testament to the inescapable power of the light over the biological world. These internal clocks have ticked without interruption for billions of years, guiding the evolution of life through endless cycles of planetary tilt. We are all solar-powered clocks, wound by the very orbit of the world we call home. Deep within the rigid trunks of the northern forests, a silent hydraulic miracle begins, as the lengthening light triggers the process of photoperiodism. The trees do not simply wait for the warmth of the soil, they count the minutes of daylight with an accuracy that rivals our most sophisticated electronic sensors. Once the equinox provides the necessary duration of light, the sleeping giants begin to push nutrient-rich sap upward through their dormant xylem vessels. The pressure builds within the bark, a rising tide of life that prepares the heavy branches for the sudden green explosion of the coming weeks. Each bud is a tightly coiled promise of growth, waiting for the signal to unfurl its first tentative leaf into the crisp morning air. This upward surge is the first visible breath of the forest's awakening, a vertical migration of sustenance that defies gravity through the sheer power of solar timing. The tree stands as a living sundial, its very physiology dictated by the angle and duration of the rays that strike its protective canopy. It is a slow, powerful response to the celestial alignment, a testament to the tree's deep and ancient connection to the distant stars. By moving its lifeblood upward in response to the sun, the forest prepares to transform light into the very foundation of the food web. Surprisingly, the universe acts as a massive invisible signal fire for the avian world, whispering through the changing duration of the dawn to trigger massive transcontinental journeys. Flocks of migratory birds currently resting in the southern warmth feel a sudden biological restlessness known as zugunru as the light begins to balance. This inner drive, fueled by the shifting photoperiod, compels them to take to the skies and navigate thousands of miles back to their northern breeding grounds. They use the sun as a primary compass, reading the specific arc of the equinox sky to stay true to their ancient flight paths across the globe. Their tiny hearts beat with the rhythm of the planet's tilt, guiding them across vast oceans and scorching deserts, with a navigational precision that seems almost supernatural. The sky becomes a highway of feathers and song, a moving river of life responding to the sun's silent and ancient command. Notice how your own breathing has become slow and steady, a calm anchor in the center of this vast and ancient migratory energy. Your body remains still and peaceful, a quiet sanctuary where the mind can wander through the high, cool currents of the atmosphere with the birds. You are part of this living world, resting in the same balance that guides the avian travelers on their long, heroic flight home. While the north prepares for its green expansion, the southern hemisphere enters a period of golden retreat as the exact same astronomical event signals a withdrawal of life. Plants in the south respond to the shortening days by drawing chlorophyll back from their leaves and into their deep roots, preparing for the dormant cold of winter. The vibrant greens dissolve into fiery reds and deep ambers, a chemical transition triggered by the precise moment of the solar crossing in the sky. This structure of survival allows the vegetation to conserve its energy, locking away vital nutrients within the safety of the woody stems and the subterranean earth. The leaves, having completed their solar harvest, are cast off in a rhythmic, crackling dance that eventually blankets the forest floor in a carpet of gold. It is a mirror image of the northern awakening, a necessary and beautiful descent into the quiet of the dark and the cold. The planet maintains its balance through this simultaneous inhale and exhale of colour, a global exchange of energy between the northern and southern hemispheres. As one side of the world wakes up to the sun, the other prepares for a long restorative sleep under the stars. It is a perfect planetary symmetry that ensures the continuity of life through the changing of the light. Picture the delicate orange and black wings of the monarch butterfly as they navigate a 3,000-mile path using the specific slant of the equinox sun as a map. These fragile travellers possess a sophisticated solar compass within their tiny brains, allowing them to adjust their flight path based on the time of day and the angle of the rays. During the autumn equinox, this internal navigation system guides them with unerring accuracy toward their remote wintering grounds in the misty mountains of Mexico. They are the ultimate sun seekers, riding the invisible thermal currents and following the golden breadcrumbs of the solar arc across an entire vast continent. Each butterfly is a living piece of the equinox's geometry, its very survival dependent on the celestial alignment of the stars and the sun. The journey is a feat of endurance and biological engineering that bridges the gap between the microscopic organism and the cosmic machine. The sun provides the map and the wind provides the path, but the drive comes from a deep, ancient memory written into their very genetic code. They are silent messengers of the shifting seasons, their migration a vibrant thread in the tapestry of the turning and spinning year. The landscape below them changes, but the sun above remains their constant, unwavering guide through the great blue vault of the sky. If we were to look closer at the hidden burrows of the wild, we would see that hibernating animals sense the subtle shift in planetary light as a summons to wake. Their bodies, which have slowed to a near stop during the long frozen months, begin to stir as the internal clock registers the arrival of the equal day. Heartbeats that occurred only a few times a minute begin to accelerate, and blood that was thick with cold starts to flow with new energy. This awakening is a slow and laborious process, a gradual return to the world of movement and hunger after months of deep restorative silence and cold. The animal emerges from its burrow, blinking into the sudden sharp brilliance of the equinox sun, feeling the first true warmth on its stiff, dormant fur. It is a biological triumph over the stillness of winter, a resurrection orchestrated entirely by the return of the sun to the centre of the sky. Feel the profound comfort of your own warmth, the steady, reliable heat of your body as you rest in this peaceful and protected space. Your muscles are relaxed and heavy, mirroring the deep, calm state of an animal just beginning to stir from a long winter's dream in the earth. You're safe, surrounded by a world that is slowly and gently coming back to life under the golden sun. The equinox sends a silent thermal vibration through the warming coastal waters, triggering the ancient reproductive cycles of countless marine species in the blue depths. As the sun lingers longer over the waves, the temperature of the shallows begins to climb, signalling to the fish that the season of abundance has finally returned. This environmental cue prompts massive spawning events, where the depths become a swirling cloud of new life and frantic biological energy under the sun. From the coral reefs to the kelp forests, the ocean responds to the celestial tilt with a surge of productivity that sustains the entire marine food web. The timing is critical, ensuring that the young hatch at the exact moment when the plankton blooms are most plentiful in the sun-drenched coastal water. It is a masterpiece of ecological synchronization, where the very orbit of the planet dictates the survival and growth of the smallest fry. The water acts as a conductor for the sun's energy, carrying the message of the equinox into every tide pool and every hidden rocky cove. Life beneath the surface is just as responsive to the light as the forests on the land, dancing to the same cosmic and ancient rhythm. The sea becomes a vast nursery for the coming year, a testament to the sun's power over the entire liquid world. Even in the crushing, lightless depths of the midnight zone, deep-sea organisms respond to the subtle shifts in moonlight and tidal pressure associated with the equinox. These mysterious creatures participate in the Diel vertical migration, the largest movement of biomass on the entire planet, which is subtly altered by the changing duration of the night. As the light at the surface reaches its point of balance, the timing and depth of these migrations shift to stay in sync. They move in a silent, massive column from the abyss to the surface under the cover of the equal night, feeding before retreating back to the dark. This vertical journey is guided by a sensitivity to light that is millions of times greater than our own, allowing them to feel the sun through miles of water. The equinox provides a unique, temporal boundary that organizes this vast underwater commute, ensuring they maximize their feeding while minimizing the risk of the daylight. The ocean floor may be dark, but it is never truly disconnected from the grand movements of the solar system high above the waves. The pressure of the tides and the faint filtered glow of the moon serve as the hands on a massive deep-sea clock of life. Every organism in the abyss is tethered to the stars by a thread of gravity and light that never breaks. Surprisingly, the universe dictates the blooming of the cherry blossoms through the subtle shifts in solar radiation that occur only during the equinox. The trees possess a specialized protein called phytochrome, which acts as a light-sensitive switch, measuring the ratio of red to far-red light in the atmosphere with precision. When the sun reaches the celestial equator, the specific quality of the radiation triggers a hormonal surge that forces the buds to burst into their iconic blooms. This chemical signaling ensures that the blossoms appear at the optimal moment to attract pollinators and avoid the dangerous late-season frost that could kill them. The landscape is suddenly transformed into a soft pink haze, a fleeting display of floral beauty that captures the essence of the spring transition for all. If we were to look closer at the petals, we would see them as tiny solar panels, absorbing the energy of the equinox to fuel their life. The trees are in a state of high-energy excitement, responding to the sun with a passion that has inspired poets and dreamers for many thousands of years. The bloom is a beautiful shout of joy from the earth to the sky, a pink cloud of life that smells of the crisp morning. It is a moment of pure botanical celebration, where the tree and the star meet in a flash of vibrant and fragile colour. If we were to look closer at the chemical composition of our atmosphere, we would see the forests of the world collectively inhaling or exhaling, changing the global levels. During the northern spring equinox, the massive forests of the northern hemisphere begin their great inhale, pulling billions of tons of carbon from the air to build life. This biological activity is so powerful that it causes a measurable dip in the global concentration of CO2, a planetary-scale breath recorded by sensors everywhere. Conversely, during the autumn transition, the decay of organic matter and the dormant state of the trees result in a slow global exhale back into the air. This rhythmic oscillation is the heartbeat of our living planet, written in the very atmosphere we breathe every single day of our lives. The equinox is the moment when the lungs of the world switch their direction, moving from the rest of winter to the work of spring. Allow the weight of this planetary breath to settle over you, a slow and majestic rhythm that connects your own lungs to the vast green expanses. You are part of this breathing world, a quiet participant in the great chemical exchange that sustains and nourishes all of life on our planet. As you drift towards sleep, feel the peace of being held within this massive living system, safe in the centre of the world's inhale. Safe in the centre of the world's inhale, we find that humanity has spent eons gathering in similar states of quiet reflection to honour the turning year. Across the globe, diverse cultures celebrate the equinox as a sacred moment of renewal, balance, and the final transition between labour and harvest. It is a shared temporal sanctuary where the chaotic motion of the seasons pauses to acknowledge the symmetry of the stars. This universal pulse of celebration bridges the gap between disparate civilizations, uniting them under a single golden sky. Whether it is the return of life in the spring or the gathering of sustenance in the autumn, the equinox serves as a planetary heartbeat that resonates through our collective history. We find ourselves drawn together by the simple, profound fact of equal light, seeking a communal sense of peace before the next great shift begins. The very air seems to thicken with the weight of tradition as the sun reaches its point of orbital poise. Communities set aside their daily toil to witness the sky achieve its rare and perfect equilibrium. This moment of planetary truce becomes a catalyst for joy, reflection, and a deep ancestral connection to the cosmos. Deep within the ancient traditions of Central Asia and the Middle East, the Persian New Year, known as Nowruz, begins precisely at the astronomical moment of the vernal equinox. This new day is a vibrant celebration of the Earth's rebirth, marked by the meticulous arrangement of the Haft Sin table, laden with symbolic items. Families gather to watch the sprouting of green wheat and barley, a living testament to the return of fertile energy to the soil. Intricately painted eggs sit among the displays, representing the potential for new life held within a fragile, balanced shell. This tradition, spanning thousands of years, treats the equinox not just as a day on a calendar, but as the literal birth of a new era. It is a time for deep cleaning, forgiveness, and the shared joy of witnessing the sun's triumphal return to the northern sky. The sweet, heavy scent of burning incense and freshly baked ceremonial bread fills the home, signalling the official end of winter's cold grip. As the exact second of the equinox arrives, families embrace, celebrating their place in a world that has successfully turned toward the light once more. It is a beautiful, rhythmic reset that ensures the human spirit stays synchronized with the waking earth. Picture families across Japan moving quietly through the spring air during Shunbun no Hai to visit the ancestral resting places of those who came before them. This national holiday, occurring at the height of the spring transition, is a time of profound reflection and the cleaning of family graves. The scent of incense mingles with the faint, sweet aroma of cherry blossoms, creating a bridge between the world of the living and the memories of the departed. Families offer flowers and ohayagi, sweet rice balls coated in red bean paste, seeking to find balance in their own lives by honouring the roots of their lineage. This practice recognises that the equinox is a rare moment of equilibrium, making it the perfect time to seek harmony between the past and the present. It is a gentle, communal act of gratitude that acknowledges our place in a long, unbroken chain of existence. As the sun sets exactly due west, a peaceful stillness settles over the cemeteries and temple grounds. The living and the dead share a moment of equal shadow, a temporal intersection where the busy world slows to a whisper. This celebration of the spring shift serves as a reminder that we are all travellers on a turning planet, forever connected to the cycles of those who walked the earth before us. Notice how your own roots, your feet and your back, rest against the earth with a steady, unyielding support. Just as the ancients sought balance in their lineage, your physical form finds a natural, quiet symmetry in the stillness of the night. You're held by the same gravity that keeps the stars in their places, anchored and completely at peace. Surprisingly, the universe continues to dictate the timing of one of the most significant holidays in the Christian tradition through a complex celestial calculation. The date of Easter is determined by the arrival of the vernal equinox, falling on the first Sunday after the first full moon that follows this solar event. This intricate dance between the sun and the moon ensures that the celebration of rebirth remains inextricably tied to the actual physical awakening of the planet. It is a fascinating intersection of theology and astronomy, where the sacred calendar is calibrated by the movements of the light across the celestial equator. Even in a modern world governed by digital clocks, the deep rhythm of our orbit still decides the timing of our most cherished rituals. This ensures that the human story of renewal is always framed by the cosmic reality of the returning sun. The calculation itself is a relic of a time when the sky was the primary clock for all of mankind. By following the moon and the equinox, the holiday preserves an ancient connection to the natural world's own resurrection from the dead of winter. It is a testament to the enduring power of the equinox as a global marker of time and spirit. This structure of celestial balance has given rise to a persistent and charming urban legend that claims you can only balance an egg on its end during the exact minute of the equinox. While physics suggests that an egg can be balanced at any time of year with enough patience and a steady hand, the myth persists as a testament to our desire for physical proof of the world's poise. Millions of people around the globe still gather on this day to attempt the feat, hoping to feel the unseen gravitational pull of the universe assisting their delicate touch. Children and adults alike hold their breath, their fingers trembling slightly as they search for that elusive point of vertical stability. When the egg finally stands, a small cheer goes up, a celebration of a tiny miracle performed in harmony with the shifting sun. It is a playful, global ritual that turns a simple kitchen item into a tool for cosmic connection. Across the modern revival of ancient earth-based spiritualities, pagans and Wiccans celebrate the festivals of Ostara and Mabon to honour the perfect balance of light and dark. During Ostara, the spring equinox, The focus is on the burgeoning potential of the seed and the return of the goddess to the waking earth. In contrast, Mabon marks the autumn equinox as a time of thanksgiving, where the harvest is secured and the world prepares to descend into the introspective dark of winter. These rituals involve the lighting of twin candles, one white and one black, to visualize the temporary truce between the competing halves of the year. Practitioners gather in forest clearings or around small home altars to offer libations and gratitude for the equilibrium that sustains all of life. It is a deeply felt sensory experience that reconnects the human spirit to the raw, visceral changes of the landscape. The focus is on the turning of the wheel, a realization that every end is a beginning and every light contains the seed of the dark. By ritualizing the equinox, these groups find a sense of groundedness in a rapidly changing world. They celebrate the fact that for one day, we're all standing in the perfect middle ground of the universe. If we were to look closer at the rhythm of your heart, we would find it moving in a steady, alternating beat that mirrors this dance of light and shadow. You are a container for both the sun and the stars, resting now in the quiet twilight of your own inner balance. Your breathing is a soft, rhythmic tide that flows in perfect harmony with the turning of the world. In the intricate traditions of the Jewish faith, the equinoxes serve as the primary anchors for the lunisolar Hebrew calendar. This ancient system of timekeeping utilizes the vernal equinox to ensure that the holiday of Passover always occurs in the correct agricultural season of spring. Because the lunar year is shorter than the solar year, a leap month is occasionally added to keep the festivals aligned with the actual ripening of the barley. This ensures that the historical narrative of liberation is perpetually celebrated against a backdrop of natural renewal and growth. The equinox is thus the master regulator of the community's temporal life, keeping their traditions tethered to the physical reality of the Earth's journey. It is a sophisticated marriage of history and astronomy, where the past is constantly refreshed by the predictable return of the light. The spring transition is not just a date, but a requirement for the sacred story to begin its annual retelling. Without the equinox to steady the calendar, the festivals would drift away from the soil that gives them their original meaning. This alignment proves that even the most spiritual of human stories are rooted in the solid mechanics of the solar system. This celestial logic also provides a structural foundation for the traditional Chinese calendar, which divides the solar year into 24 specific terms. The equinoxes, known as Chunfen and Qiufen, mark the absolute midpoint of the spring and autumn seasons respectively. Unlike Western calendars that often see the equinox as the beginning of a season, this system views it as the peak or centre of the transition. This perspective emphasises the height of the balance, a time when the energy of the world is at its most harmonious and poised. People celebrate by eating specific seasonal foods, such as spring vegetables or autumn moon cakes, to internalize the shifting qualities of the solar light. It is a highly organized way of living that respects the nuanced changes in temperature and light that occur as the planet tilts through space. By recognizing the equinox as the center, the calendar encourages a state of mindfulness regarding the peak of the Earth's seasonal energy. It is a time for finding the middle path in all things, avoiding extremes as the sun crosses the celestial equator. This ancient wisdom uses the sky to teach the art of living in balance with the natural flow of the universe. If we were to look closer at the spiritual beliefs of many ancient societies, we would find a common thread that views the equinox as a thin threshold between worlds. Because the light and dark are in perfect, equal tension, it is believed that the veil separating the physical realm from the spiritual one becomes uniquely translucent. This makes the equinox a powerful time for meditation, divination, and the seeking of guidance from unseen forces. The heavy, sweet scent of burning incense and freshly baked ceremonial bread fills the air, acting as a sensory bridge to the ethereal. It is a moment of profound quietude where the usual barriers of the ego can dissolve into the vast, balanced silence of the cosmos. This perceived thinness allows for a deeper connection to the mystery of existence, offering a sense of peace that transcends ordinary understanding. As the sun sits on the equator, the world feels momentarily paused between two breaths, making it easier to hear the whispers of the universe. Many seek out high places or sacred sites to catch the first rays of this balanced dawn, hoping to glimpse the light of another realm. It is a day of spiritual accessibility, a wide-open door in the clockwork of the year. Feel the heavy, velvety stillness of the air around you, acting as a gentle threshold between the activities of the day and the deep, restorative dark of sleep. You're safely crossing this boundary, moving into a space where the noise of the world fades into a soft, distant hum. The veil between waking and dreaming is thinning, welcoming you into the quiet. Ultimately, these diverse worldwide festivals highlight our shared and enduring human desire to find profound meaning in the cold, unyielding mechanics of the sky. We are a species that refuses to live in a world of mere geometry and gravity, choosing instead to decorate the planetary orbit with stories, feasts, and rituals. Every loaf of ceremonial bread and every flickering candle is a protest against the silence of the void. This collective effort to celebrate the equinox proves that we find comfort in the predictable rhythms of our solar system. We take the abstract movements of a tilted sphere and transform them into a reason for gratitude, community, and peace. It is a beautiful human addition to the celestial clockwork, a way of turning the stars into a home. As you drift further toward rest, realize that you are part of a global family that has always looked to the equinox for a sense of belonging. The festivals may differ, but the underlying heart is the same, a recognition that we are all held in balance by the sun. The night is equal to the day, and in that equality we find the quiet permission to let go and simply be. In that state of quiet permission where we let go and simply be, we find that the same sun which balances our day also reaches out to touch the high-altitude machines that govern our modern lives. Deep within the silent, airless reaches of the exosphere, the equinox creates a unique and formidable hazard for the delicate ring of telecommunication satellites that occupy the geostationary arc. These complex structures, orbiting nearly 22,000 miles above the Earth's equator, find themselves at a precarious geometric intersection as the seasons pivot. Because their orbital path mirrors the very celestial line where the sun now hangs, they enter a zone of intense, unshielded stellar interference. This is the Clark Belt, a ring of silicon and steel that suddenly feels the full, focused weight of solar geometry. The machines, normally invisible and silent in their high watch, are suddenly thrust into a spotlight of radiation that challenges their electronic composure. It is a seasonal encounter between our highest technology and the raw mechanics of the star. For a few days surrounding the equinox, the sun aligns with mathematical precision directly behind these geostationary satellites from the perspective of ground-based receiving antennas. This alignment creates a perfect straight-line path where the relatively small satellite is caught in the blinding, overwhelming glare of the sun's massive burning disk. The ground station, designed to listen for the faint, precise whisper of a digital signal from orbit, is suddenly deafened by the colossal radio roar of our local star. It is a moment of total celestial occlusion, where the man-made must contend with the raw magnitude of the sun. The receiving dishes on Earth are momentarily blinded, staring into a furnace of radiation that masks everything else in its path. The satellite becomes a mere silhouette, a tiny speck of metal lost in a sea of solar fire. This precise alignment causes massive solar radio noise to flood the sensors, effectively drowning out the intended signals and resulting in temporary predictable broadcast outages across entire continents. The sun is a powerful and chaotic radio emitter, and during these sun outages, its thermal energy easily overwhelms the modulated transmissions sent from the satellite's transponders. Engineers and technicians refer to this phenomenon as a sun fade, a brief but inevitable interruption that occurs when the star's energy signature overlaps with the satellite's frequency. It is a scheduled disruption, a cosmic interference that no amount of human shielding can completely negate. We are reminded that the invisible waves we use to communicate are ultimately guests in a sky dominated by a much louder, ancient voice. The silence that follows is a testament to the sun's absolute authority over the electromagnetic spectrum. As your body settles into a deeper state of rest, you might imagine television screens in homes around the world briefly freezing or dissolving into a flurry of digital static. This sudden crackle of static humming from a radio receiver is the sensory evidence of the sun's intense microwave radiation overpowering the satellite beam. This interference is a physical touch from 93 million miles away, a reminder of the raw power that sustains and sometimes disrupts our world. Let the gentle weight of your limbs and the steady rhythm of your breath be your own internal signal, clear and undisturbed by the noise of the heavens. You're grounded and safe, even as the invisible data streams high above are momentarily scattered by the sun. The static is just a whisper from the cosmos, a reminder that even our most advanced tools must occasionally pause in the presence of the star. Spacecraft operators must also manage intense and dangerous thermal stress as satellites pass through the Earth's shadow during the equinox eclipse season, experiencing sudden and dramatic freezes. For most of the year, these satellites bask in constant, unyielding sunlight, but the equinox alignment forces them into the freezing dark of the planet's shadow for up to 72 minutes each day. The transition is violent for the machines as they swing from the scorching heat of direct solar radiation to the absolute zero of the cosmic void. Heaters must be activated, and power systems must be carefully monitored to ensure that the delicate instruments do not crack or fail under the pressure of the rapid cooling. It is a seasonal test of endurance for the metal travelers that watch over our world from the dark. Their structures expand and contract in the silence, caught between the furnace of the sun and the ice of the shadow. Notice how the massive solar panels of these orbiting watchers must constantly track the changing angle of the sun to maintain optimal power generation during this orbital shift. Because the star is crossing the celestial equator, the orientation that provided a steady flow of energy for the past 6 months is no longer efficient or viable. The satellites perform a slow, robotic dance in the vacuum, pivoting their wings to capture every possible photon as the light angles shift with each passing day. This recalibration is essential for keeping the onboard batteries charged through the long, cold eclipses that characterize the equinox season. It is a silent, automated struggle for energy, played out in the shimmering light of the high frontier. The panels, like the leaves of a tree, reach toward the source of their life with a mechanical precision that honors the geometry of the year. Surprisingly, the universe exerts a physical force through solar radiation pressure that changes slightly during the equinox, requiring minor but critical orbital adjustments to keep satellites in their exact positions. This pressure is a stream of photons hitting the spacecraft like a gentle, persistent wind, and as the angle of impact shifts with the equinox, it nudges the machines off their intended paths. If left uncorrected, these tiny solar whispers would cause the satellites to drift miles away from their assigned slots, rendering them useless for ground communications. Satellite controllers must perform station-keeping maneuvers, firing tiny thrusters to resist the sun's gentle push and maintain their place in the sky. It is a delicate game of celestial tug-of-war, where the weight of light itself must be countered by human ingenuity. The orbits are not fixed paths, but constantly negotiated journeys through a sea of radiation and gravity. If we were to look closer at the invisible and rapid flow of global internet traffic, we would see that financial data networks and critical services plan ahead to route around these predictable equinox sun outages. Banks, stock exchanges, and emergency communication systems cannot afford even a few minutes of radio silence, so they proactively shift their data streams to terrestrial fiber optic cables or non-equatorial satellite paths. It is a massive coordinated effort of digital redirection, a global maneuver to bypass a celestial roadblock that has been understood for decades. The infrastructure of our modern world must bow to the geometry of the solar system, finding alternative paths when the direct line to the stars is blocked by fire. This hidden layer of planning ensures that while a television signal might flicker, the pulse of the global economy remains steady. We have learned to dance with the sun, weaving our technology through the gaps in its overwhelming power. The International Space Station must also adjust its massive thermal radiators to account for the changing angle of constant solar exposure during the weeks of the equinox. This sprawling orbital laboratory is a masterpiece of heat management, and the shifting sun requires a precise recalibration of how the station sheds the warmth generated by its internal systems and crew. The radiators are tilted and rotated to ensure they always point toward the deep, cold void of space, avoiding the direct and scorching glare of the equinoctial sun. If the heat were not properly dissipated, the station's internal environment would quickly become uninhabitable for the astronauts on board. It is a constant mechanical balancing act, a silent effort to maintain a pocket of life in an environment defined by extreme solar cycles. The station glows with reflected light as it sheds its heat, a fragile spark of life navigating the geometry of the heavens. Echoing the image of a fragile spark of life navigating the geometry of the heavens, we move from the metal hulls of satellites to the absolute apex of our world. At the exact geographic North Pole, the spring equinox is not merely a subtle change in the ambient light, but the occurrence of the sole, monumental sunrise of the entire year. After 6 long months of shifting through blue twilight and starlit blackness, the sun finally breaks the plane of the horizon in a slow, majestic reveal that paints the frozen sky in streaks of fire. It does not rise and set as it does in the lower latitudes, but begins a deliberate horizontal journey that traces the entire circumference of the horizon over the course of the day. This single dawn marks the end of the long polar night, a moment where the geometry of the Earth's tilt finally allows the star to peek over the curvature of the frozen world. The first rays skim across the jagged ridges of the blue ice, painting the vast flat plains in a cold, crystalline gold that hasn't been seen since the previous autumn. It is a planetary-scale curtain call that signifies the arrival of the sun at the top of the world, resetting the clock of the Arctic. Imagine standing in that pristine absolute silence, watching the golden orb trace a perfect, unmoving circle around you, never once dipping below the razor-sharp edge of the ice. You're at the centre of a celestial compass, watching the year begin with a single, eternal dawn that will last for months. This structure of the polar day creates a landscape without the familiar markers of time, where the shadow of a single ice peak rotates in a perfect circle across the tundra. The sun becomes a constant companion, a silent witness to the piercingly cold wind and the vast, echoing solitude of the high Arctic. It reflects off the snow in a blinding silver glare that makes the world feel like a place of pure, unadulterated energy. If we were to look closer at the sky, we would see a star that refuses to set, carving a permanent place for itself in the heavens for the next half-year of light. This spiralling motion is the visual evidence of our planet's tilt, a slow-motion dance that defines the rhythm of life at the edge of the world. Each day is a carbon copy of the last, differing only by a hair's breadth in the height of the sun's glowing infinite path. The light is relentless, a golden flood that washes away the memory of the long blue night. Simultaneously, at the opposite end of our spinning globe, the bottom of the world experiences its only sunset of the year, plunging the southern extreme into half a year of freezing darkness. As the northern axis bows toward the light, the southern axis tilts irrevocably away, watching the sun dip below the horizon for the very last time. This is the great planetary exchange, a symmetrical handoff of energy where one pole surrenders its warmth so the other might thrive in the solar glow. The ice reflects the final deepening purples and bruised oranges of a sunset that takes days to conclude, stretching the departure of the star into a haunting, protracted farewell. Once the sun finally vanishes, the stars begin to emerge in a clarity found nowhere else on Earth, reclaiming a sky that will remain black until the next equinox. It is a moment of profound cosmic closure, a signal that the long, isolated watch of the southern winter has officially begun. Picture the twilight at the poles lasting for weeks on either side of the equinox as the sun hovers just below the ice, painting the sky in perpetual twilight hues. This lingering glow is divided into civil, nautical, and astronomical twilight, each stage lasting for days as the sun's angle relative to the horizon changes with agonizing slowness. The atmosphere acts as a giant reservoir, catching the rays from the hidden star and scattering them across the clouds in a soft luminescent haze. It is a world of constant indigo and soft violet, where the distinction between day and night dissolves into a single, enduring state of grace. This structure of light creates an ethereal, dreamlike environment that defies the frantic pace of the civilized world far to the south. The shadows are never fully gone, but they are never fully dark, creating a landscape that feels like a memory or a half-remembered dream. As you feel the heavy, supportive weight of your own body, imagine being enveloped in this soft blue glow, where time feels suspended in a quiet, frozen amber. Your breath is steady, matching the slow, rhythmic fading of the polar light into the deep, velvet embrace of the coming dark. The sky remains a pale, ghostly blue for hours, refusing to surrender to the blackness as the light bends around the edge of the world. This increased volatility is a direct result of the Earth's orientation relative to the Sun, which creates a more direct path for solar activity to impact our atmospheric defences. The sky becomes a canvas for the energetic dance of particles, even if the Sun itself is hidden below the horizon or distant in the sky. It is a time of celestial turbulence, where the silent clockwork of the orbit triggers a magnificent glowing response in the high-altitude gases. The equinox is thus a gateway for energy, a moment when the barrier between the star and the planet becomes more porous and reactive. This magnetic restlessness is the silent echo of the planet's seasonal transition, a pulse of energy that ripples through the invisible field. You're protected by this shimmering shield, a silent guardian that turns the solar wind into a display of pure celestial light. This magnetic rhythm is the deep, invisible music of our home. Surprisingly, the universe uses a specific mechanical alignment known as the Russell-McFerran effect to create cracks in Earth's magnetic field that align perfectly with the solar wind during the equinoxes. This complex interaction occurs because the magnetic poles of the Earth are tilted in such a way that they become effectively parallel to the incoming stream of solar plasma twice a year. This alignment creates magnetic portals or weak points, where the Sun's magnetic field can easily link up with our own, pouring energy directly into the upper atmosphere. This physical bridge between the star and the planet bypasses the invisible barriers that usually keep the solar wind at bay, allowing the cosmic environment to touch our world. It is a moment of profound vulnerability and beauty, where the planet opens itself to the energy of the Sun in a way that is chemically and physically unique. The atmosphere reacts with a sudden surge of energy, crackling with the influx of charged particles from the distant Sun. This structure of the magnetosphere ensures that the equinox is not just an event of light and shadow, but a deep, electromagnetic transition. By understanding this effect, we see the invisible threads that bind our world to the turbulent life of the Sun, making our planet a sensitive instrument of the stars. We're connected to the solar system in ways that are felt in the very air we breathe and the sky we watch. This structure of magnetic alignment leads to incredibly vibrant and widespread displays of the northern and southern lights, which reach their absolute peak of intensity during these specific weeks. The solar particles funneled through the magnetic cracks collide with oxygen and nitrogen molecules, causing them to glow in brilliant greens, deep crimsons, and shimmering violets. These curtains of light ripple and fold across the polar skies, moving with a silent, ghostly energy that seems to mimic the piercingly cold wind sweeping across the ice below. Because the equinox provides the perfect combination of magnetic alignment and sufficient darkness at high latitudes, the auroras are often visible much further toward the equator than at any other time of the year. It is a spectacular planetary-scale light show, a visual symphony created by the friction between the solar wind and our protective atmosphere. The light cascades down in shimmering ribbons, illuminating the blue ice in a way that feels almost supernatural. As you rest, imagine these dancing lights far above, a silent cosmic fire that illuminates the darkness with the energy of the sun. The sky's alive with a phantom radiance, a testament to the power of the celestial alignment that briefly erases the boundary between space and Earth. You're witnessing the very breath of the star as it touches the atmosphere of our home. Notice how researchers living at the remote polar bases use the equinox as a vital psychological milestone, marking the beginning or the end of their absolute isolation. For those stationed at the very extremes of the world, the arrival of the equinox signifies a fundamental shift in their daily reality, either welcoming the first sunrise or bracing for the final sunset. It is a day of communal reflection and ritual, where teams celebrate the passing of the long dark or prepare their supplies for the months of total self-reliance ahead. The movement of the sun across the horizon is a powerful physical clock that dictates their moods, their sleep cycles, and their connection to the rest of humanity. This structure of life in the extreme cold creates a deep appreciation for the reliable, geometric patterns of the sky that most of us take for granted. They mark the day with special meals and tradition, acknowledging the profound shift in the world around them. Feel the sense of safety and comfort in your own surroundings, knowing that your world is balanced and steady, while others navigate the profound thresholds of the polar frontier. You're grounded in a world of rhythm, safe within the architecture of the year, while they stand on the edge of the great light or the deep dark. Their watch is a reminder of the human spirit's ability to find meaning in the absolute extremes of our planet. The rapid change in daylight at these high latitudes causes the fastest drops and spikes in ambient surface temperatures found anywhere on the planet during the week surrounding the equinox. Because the sun gains or loses height in the sky with such speed, the amount of solar energy hitting the frozen ice changes dramatically from one day to the next. In the north, the sudden arrival of constant sunlight begins the rapid, crackling process of melting the surface snow and warming the air, while in the south, the departure of the sun triggers a plummeting of the mercury into life-threatening lows. These temperature swings are so aggressive they can alter the local air pressure, creating fierce, howling winds that scour the flat plains of blue ice and reshape the drifts. It is a time of environmental upheaval, where the climate itself seems to be racing to catch up with the shifting light of the new season. The air shimmers with the intensity of the thermal transition, creating mirages and distortions over the vast white landscape. This rapid thermal transition is the physical voice of the equinox, a roar of wind and a snap of ice that announces the changing of the guard at the poles. The Earth itself shudders under the weight of the shifting heat, rearranging its frozen armour in response to the sun's command. It is a violent and beautiful reshaping of the environment, a testament to the power of the light over the ice. In these extreme environments, the transition of the equinox is not a subtle shift, but a dramatic reshaping of reality that alters the very perception of time and space for all who witness it. The disappearance or arrival of the sun fundamentally changes the way the eye perceives distance, as the shadows lengthen into infinity or vanish entirely under the circling star. The landscape is transformed from a starlit frozen desert into a blazing white expanse, or vice versa, in a matter of days as the light reclaimed its rightful territory. This total environmental overhaul serves as a reminder that our experience of the world is entirely dependent on the angle at which we face our star. The equinox at the poles is the ultimate expression of the Earth's motion, a raw and beautiful display of the mechanics of the heavens playing out on a continental scale. Every mountain of ice and every flat plain is a witness to the turning of the planetary wheel. As the piercingly cold wind sweeps across the blue ice, the planet turns, and the balance of the world is rewritten in the shifting light of the sky. It is a moment of pure planetary clarity, where the truth of our orbital journey is revealed in the silence of the ice and the long, slow arc of the sun. The stillness is absolute, a frozen sanctuary where the stars and the sun take turns guarding the world. The stillness is absolute in the frozen sanctuary where the stars and the sun take turns guarding the world. Yet our blue marble is not the only pilgrim in this grand, silent theatre. Deep within the vast architecture of our solar system, every planet that spins upon a tilted axis experiences its own version of this celestial poise. Whether it is the gas giants lurking in the outer cold or the rocky worlds huddled near the solar fire, the geometry of orbit dictates a moment where day and night reach their perfect, equal consensus. This cosmic structure is a universal rule, a mathematical inevitability for any sphere that dares to lean as it dances around its star. While the specific length of the years and the intensity of the light may differ across the void, the fundamental truth of the equinox remains a shared heritage of the planetary family. We are merely one of many worlds that find themselves perfectly upright for a fleeting second in the long, dark journey through the stars. If we were to look closer at the neighbours of our Earth, we would see this balance playing out on a scale that dwarfs our own experience. It is a reminder that the rhythms we hold so dear are not localised accidents, but the deep, underlying pulse of a much larger interconnected system. The universe repeats its lessons of symmetry and light across billions of miles of empty starry space. Picture Saturn during its rare and majestic equinox, a moment that occurs only twice during its long 29-year journey around the Sun. This ringed giant possesses a complex system of ice and dust, stretching over 100,000 miles wide. Yet these rings are so incredibly thin that they are measured in mere meters. When the sun hits the planet's equator exactly edge-on, the shadow of the rings disappears, and the rings themselves seem to vanish from our telescopes as if swallowed by the dark. This structure of light creates a haunting, ethereal vision of a planet stripped of its iconic crown, standing naked and symmetrical in the silent, vast darkness. For a brief window, the sunlight skims across the top and bottom of the ring plane simultaneously, illuminating strange, vertical structures known as spokes that dance across the ice. It is a visual phenomenon that transforms the most recognizable object in our sky into a mysterious, shadowless sphere. Surprisingly, the universe offers this vanishing act as a testament to the staggering precision of orbital mechanics at the furthest reaches of the solar system. The rings, composed of trillions of frozen fragments, all align in a singular microscopic plane to greet the sun's horizontal rays. It is a moment of profound cosmic elegance, where the massive and the minute find a perfect disappearing harmony in the starry void. The equinox on Mars signals a dramatic and turbulent shift in the red planet's thin, cold atmosphere, often serving as the catalyst for the season of global dust storms. As the light reaches its point of balance over the Martian equator, the sudden, intense heating of the surface creates massive temperature gradients that stir the stagnant air into a frenzy. These winds gather the fine, iron-rich sands from the vast deserts, lofting them miles into the sky until the entire planet is engulfed in a choking orange haze. This structure of the Martian climate means that the moment of balance is often the precursor to a world-swallowing chaos that can hide the surface from view for months. The sun becomes a dim, blue-tinted ghost in a sky filled with swirling grit, and the delicate landers we have sent there must hunker down to survive the scouring winds. It is a stark reminder that on other worlds, the arrival of the equal day can be a signal of environmental violence rather than quiet peace. Notice how your own environment remains still and protected, a quiet sanctuary where the air is calm and the light is soft and welcoming. While the winds of Mars howl across the craters and the red plains, you are held in a state of absolute grounded safety. Your breathing is slow and steady, a gentle contrast to the restless, energetic atmosphere of our neighbouring world. Imagine Uranus, the strange turquoise ice giant that rolls through the deep dark on its side, experiencing a rare and profound equinox after decades of extreme seasonal tilt. For 42 years at a time, one pole of this distant world faces the sun in perpetual daylight, while the other is shrouded in an unending freezing winter. The equinox is the singular, brief moment when the sun finally reaches the equator, bringing the first glimpse of dawn to regions that have known only darkness for a human lifetime. This structure of the Uranian orbit creates a seasonal shift so dramatic it would be unrecognizable to any dweller on Earth. The sun appears to rise and set in a frantic horizontal dance, cutting across the sky at angles that defy our earthly intuition of morning and night. It is a planetary scale reset, where the atmosphere begins to churn and stir after nearly half a century of stagnant, frozen repose. If we were to look closer at the clouds of Uranus, we would see massive storms erupting as the sunlight finally touches the long-hidden depths of the gas layers. The energy of the sun, though faint at such a distance, acts as a powerful waking call for the sleeping giant. It is a moment of cosmic transition that underscores the bizarre and wonderful variety of the worlds that share our solar system. Notice how the Earth's axis itself slowly wobbles like a heavy spinning top losing its momentum, a motion that changes where the equinox occurs among the background stars. This subtle circular drift is caused by the gravitational tug of the sun and the moon on the Earth's equatorial bulge, preventing our planet from ever being truly still. Over thousands of years, this wobble pulls the celestial equator across the sky, shifting the precise point where the sun crosses the line of balance. This structure of our planetary motion means that the sky our ancestors watched is not the same sky that greets us today. The constellations that once heralded the arrival of the spring transition have slowly slipped away, replaced by new celestial guardians in the turning vault of the night. It is a slow, majestic shifting of the cosmic gears that takes nearly 26,000 years to complete a single grand rotation. Allow the steady, rhythmic pulse of your own heart to connect you to this ancient planetary wobble, a movement so slow and massive it transcends the span of human memory. You're riding a world that is constantly, subtly adjusting its posture in the silent dark, searching for a balance that is always in motion. The stillness you feel is just a brief snapshot of a planet in the midst of a grand circular dance. This wobble causes the phenomenon known as the precession of the equinoxes, a long-term shifting of our celestial North Pole that dictates which star we call our guide. Today, we look to Polaris to find our way in the dark, but in the time of the ancient pyramid builders, the North Star was the dim Thuban in the constellation of Draco. In the distant future, the Earth's axis will point toward the brilliant blue-white light of Vega, completely rewriting the map of the night sky. This structure of time is measured in great years, vast cycles that define the long-term history of our planet's relationship with the background universe. Each equinox occurs a tiny fraction of a degree earlier in the orbit than the one before, slowly dragging the seasons through the entire circle of the zodiac. It is a silent, unceasing migration of the calendar that ensures the heavens are always in a state of slow-motion evolution. Surprisingly, the universe uses this precession to keep the Earth's climate from becoming locked in a permanent, unchanging state over the eons. The shifting tilt alters the distribution of solar energy across the millennia, contributing to the slow rise and fall of the great ice ages. We are passengers on a world that is constantly, invisibly, reimagining its own orientation toward the eternal stars. Because of this slow, relentless drift, the astrological signs assigned to the equinox thousands of years ago no longer match the actual constellations that stand behind the sun on that day. In the age of the ancient Greeks, the vernal equinox occurred as the sun entered the stars of Aries, a tradition that survives in our horoscopes even as the reality has shifted. Today, the sun actually crosses the celestial equator against the backdrop of Pisces and is slowly moving toward the threshold of Aquarius. This structure of celestial displacement reveals a profound gap between our cultural traditions and the cold, observational truths of the astronomical world. We cling to symbols that were anchored to a sky that has long since turned away, leaving us in a state of cosmic nostalgia. It is a reminder that the universe is a dynamic, living system that refuses to be pinned down by the static calendars of our making. Feel the heavy, restful weight of your shoulders as you contemplate the vast, shifting distances of the stars and the slow, inexorable turning of the zodiac. You're resting in the present moment, perfectly aligned with the reality of the sky as it exists right now, beyond the labels of the past. The stars are silent, unbrained witnesses to the passing of ages and the drifting of the human heart. Deep within the swirling arms of the Milky Way, our entire solar system is rushing forward at over 500,000 miles per hour, meaning no two equinoxes ever happen in the exact same physical space. We are part of a cosmic caravan, led by the sun as it hurtles toward a point in space known as the solar apex, dragging the planets along in a corkscrew path. The balance of light we experience today occurs in a region of the galaxy that was empty space just a few hours ago, and will be empty again before the moon completes its cycle. This structure of our galactic movement ensures that every moment of poise is a unique, unrepeatable event in the history of the universe. We never truly return to the same place, even as our calendars tell us that the year has come full circle. The equinox is a brief, glowing intersection in a journey that is constantly moving into the unknown territory of the deep, unending space. Imagine the sheer velocity of this flight, a silent and staggering rush through the interstellar void that we feel only as the soft passage of time. The stillness of your room is a beautiful illusion, a quiet cabin on a ship travelling through the galactic currents at speeds that defy our understanding. You're a traveller in the deepest sense, moving through the vastness of the galaxy while tucked safely in the blankets of your own world. If we were to look closer, the equinox is a final, profound reminder that our steady, repeating calendar is just a brief illusion in a dynamic and ever-changing universe. The orbital mechanics of our world are subject to the constant, subtle perturbations of other planets, the shifting of the Earth's internal mass, and the relentless pressure of the solar wind. No 2 years are exactly the same length, and no 2 equinoxes occur with the absolute perfect timing that our clocks might suggest. This structure of instability is the true nature of the cosmos, a place where balance is a fleeting and precious state rather than a permanent condition. The calendar is a human mask placed over a chaotic and magnificent reality, a way to find order in a system that is fundamentally fluid. We celebrate the equinox because it represents the rare, beautiful moment where the chaos briefly subsides into a state of visible, geometric grace. Surprisingly, the universe finds its beauty in this very instability, in the way that the stars and planets must constantly adjust to stay in their ancient, intricate dance. The equinox is the point where we catch our breath, acknowledging the profound and delicate harmony that allows life to thrive on our wandering world. It is the hinge upon which the year turns, a moment of deep celestial exhale before the movement begins again. Every time light and shadow find their perfect balance on Earth, it is a fleeting, unique fingerprint of our planet's ongoing journey through the infinite cosmos. The specific alignment of the stars, the exact distance of the moon, and the precise velocity of our flight through the galaxy combine to make this moment unlike any other in the history of time. It is a singular, quiet masterpiece painted in the colours of the dawn and the twilight, a signature of the world written on the fabric of space. This structure of uniqueness gives the equinox a profound philosophical weight, transforming it from a mere astronomical event into a sacred waypoint in our lives. We are witnessing a balance that will never be repeated in quite the same way, a gift from a universe that is always in the process of becoming something new. As the shadow moves across the sundial and the sun crosses the equator, we are part of a miracle of geometry and grace. The equinox is not merely a day on a calendar, but a fleeting, perfect breath of cosmic equilibrium where Earth, humanity, and the universe align in a profound, delicate dance of light and gravity. The equinox is not merely a day on a calendar, but a fleeting, perfect breath of cosmic equilibrium where Earth, humanity and the universe align in a profound, delicate dance of light and gravity. Deep within the cellular memory of your body, the same balance that holds the planets now settles into your core. This quiet room is a sanctuary where the weight of the universe dissolves into the comfort of your presence. Gravity gently pulls all effort away from your feet. Surprisingly, the body knows exactly how to find its own repose, mimicking the planetary poise we've explored throughout this journey. The soles of your feet and your ankles soften, sinking into the supportive sheets. Your calves and knees grow heavy, surrendering to the absolute stillness. If we were to look closer, we would see your breathing becoming a slow, effortless pulse that flows through the center of your chest. Thighs and hips relax, feeling the steady support of the mattress beneath you. This structure of rest is your own center, a place where the light and dark find their perfect truce. The fingers and hands lie still, their work finished, resting like fallen leaves upon the bedding. Forearms and elbows lose their weight, melting into the soft fabric. Every muscle in your back and shoulders releases its grip, allowing the spine to settle into its natural curve. Your neck and jaw soften, the tongue resting easily as the face becomes a mask of total peace. The tiny muscles around your eyes let go, and the forehead becomes smooth and cool. You're a witness to the silence, a quiet participant in this grand reset of the cycle. The pillow cradles your head with a gentle, persistent kindness that requires nothing from you in return. Within this soft stillness, the only sound is the rhythmic, low hum of the quiet air moving through the room. This familiar area is a container for your dreams, a sanctuary of fabric and quiet where you are protected. Heavy blankets provide a deep sensory security, pressing against you with a comforting and steady warmth. Each slow breath is a gift of quietude, a gentle wave that washes over your mind and clears away the last fragments of thought. You're drifting now, moving toward a state of pure, uncomplicated being where the only reality is the softness of the bed. Cool air rests against your cheek, a subtle contrast to the heavy heat gathered beneath the covers. Everything is as it should be, a perfectly arranged landscape of rest that welcomes you into its depths. The quiet outside the door has faded into a distant murmur, leaving only the peace of this immediate moment. Your mind is a calm, deep pool, undisturbed by the ripples of the hours and ready to sink into the heavy quiet. Every fibre of the mattress is designed to hold you, supporting your frame so that you may finally let go of the last thread of awareness. The silence is a heavy velvet cloak that wraps around you, bringing a profound sense of closure. Everything is still, and the tension has vanished into the soft, waiting corners of the room. You're completely at peace, ready to submerge into the healing waters of a dreamless slumber. The breathing is slow, the heartbeat is steady, and the rest is yours to inhabit in total quiet comfort. And now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.